Hello and welcome. I thought it would be fun to do a Dark Souls boss tier list today because people seem to like tier lists, and I just recently finished the game for the first time, so the game is still fresh in my mind. I have some thoughts on the different bosses. So the entire Dark Souls playthrough is uploaded to my channel if you want to take a look from start to finish. And I have already started Dark Souls 2, which is why I want to get this out today, because the first video for Dark Souls 2 will be coming out tomorrow. So I got to get this up ASAP. So I'm going to try to make this quick because there are a lot of bosses to get through. So I'm going to try not to ramble too much. And some of the bosses really aren't that interesting, so I might not talk about... I'm not going to put a lot of time into each boss, only the ones that I think are worth it. So, I just finished Dark Souls 2 for the first time. Coming off from Elden Ring. I finished Elden Ring first. That was my first Souls-like game. And then I moved on to Dark Souls. So, boss tier list. Let's start with Asylum Demon. Asylum Demon is pretty great. He's not really that interesting. His moveset is pretty simple. I guess all the movesets for all the bosses in the first game are pretty simple. But he's a great first boss. When you first encounter him, he's super intimidating. He also looks really cool. I like his aesthetic. I don't know if I can go A tier with him. Definitely a high B tier. I don't know, we might change him around. Black Dragon Kalameet. Oh, we're starting off with the best ones here. Black Dragon Kalameet is S tier. He might be the best boss in the game. He's one of those bosses, and there are a couple of them that just felt impossible. The first few times I fought him, he's so difficult. I had a really hard time dodging his breath attacks. I was ready to give up, but I pushed through, and once you learn his attacks, they are dodgeable. All his damage is avoidable, and I got through it, and it was really satisfying. He has a great, varied moveset, and what I like about him is, even though he's a large creature, these dragons, fighting them in melee, at least in Elden Ring especially, fighting these large creatures can be a pain because you have a lot of camera issues. You don't know what you're looking at. With him, I didn't really have that. In large part, I think, because of the large battleground that you fight him in, they gave you a lot of space. And so he's definitely S tier. He's way up there. Bell Gargoyle. He's going to be up there too. There were two of them. I believe he's the first major boss in the game. Right before the first bell. There are a few minor bosses before him. But I really like this one too. What I like about him is there's two of them. And the first one, I like that the first one kind of comes out a little bit later in the fight. So you're starting with one and you're like, okay, maybe I can handle this. And then the other one jumps in. I like the varied terrain. It's on a sloped rooftop. So that can be used to your advantage. I like that. And yeah, this was another one that I had a lot of trouble with. I think apart from Black Dragon Kalameet, he took the longest for me to beat. I timed it. I think it was 1 hour and 14 minutes. Something like that. Actually, I don't think I spent that long on Black Dragon Kalameet. So this might be the boss that took me the most time to beat. But I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I can go A tier with him, just because he's a gargoyle. And I don't know, he's not that interesting aesthetically. I'm going to go A tier. We'll say high A tier. Oh, now we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Oh, God. The Bed of Chaos. The Bed of Chaos. S tier aesthetic. D tier mechanics. Dark Souls, the worst part of the game is when the game turns into a platformer. And there's a couple of areas like that. And this boss, to defeat him, you gotta do all this platforming mumbo jumbo, dodge these giant hands swiping at you. I'm just going D tier. It's terrible. Great aesthetic though. I like the way it looks. Capra Demon, D tier. That fight sucked, mostly because they just don't give you any time. They can start attacking you while you're still going through the door. The arena is so tiny. I don't mind that he has those little dogs with him. That's okay. But the fact that they just give you no time at all is annoying. And he's one of those bosses that appears later in the game as sort of a normal enemy. And he's kind of cool looking, but when you fight him later on, you fight a bunch of them, and then he just turns into a normal, regular enemy. So we're going D tier. Ceaseless Discharge, not a very interesting fight. He's one of those bosses that's really big, and so it's hard to get a sense of what he's doing. I just kind of overwhelmed him with my heavy attacks. I was never really able to dodge him consistently. I guess he looks kind of cool, but other than that, he wasn't really interesting in any way. I'm going D tier. Centipede Demon, D tier. Crossbreed Priscilla. The only interesting about this fight was she's invisible. You can see her footsteps approaching. I killed her pretty quickly, so I don't think I had a chance to see her full moveset, if I remember. She really was not that interesting, but I can't go D tier with her. I'm not going to put her down here with these scrubs. So we're going to go C tier. Chaos Witch Quelaag. Now, she's a bit more interesting. She has a great moveset. She can spit lava puddles at you. She has a great fire sword. Cool looking fire sword. She's not super difficult. I think I beat her on my first try. I think. I could be wrong on that. But I'm going to go B tier with her. Demon Firesage. Is that... Oh, what is that? Is that the Asylum... That thing that looks like the Asylum Demon? But it's like a flaming version of it. Yeah, I think his moveset was a little bit different than the Asylum Demon as well. He had like an extra attack or so. Wasn't too thrilled about him. We're going C tier. Dark Sun Gwendolyn. I did not fight this boss. That might be the only boss I did not fight. I think that's an optional boss. I've heard about them, but I have not fought them, so we're gonna leave them alone. Four Kings. Sorry, Four Kings, you're going D tier. This boss was a bit difficult. Not super difficult, took a few tries, but that arena that you fight him in, the darkness, it makes it much more difficult there. It's hard to gauge the distances from the projectiles they're throwing at you, and that makes things more difficult. At the same time, that kind of makes it more interesting. I don't know if I can put him in D tier. We'll put him in C tier. He's not terrible. Gaping Dragon. That's another S tier aesthetic. That was a fun fight. It was over pretty quickly the first time I fought him, though. I think I beat him on the first try. So I didn't see their full moveset, but I gotta go A tier. From what I saw, they were pretty great. And the aesthetic, I mean, can't go wrong with that. So we're going A tier. Great Grey Wolf Sif. Let's see. I was kind of ashamed to kill Sif. Especially after learning more of their backstory. Well, we didn't really learn much, but we did meet them in the DLC later. As far as the fight goes, we're going B tier. It was kind of interesting. It was the same. They reused this fight in Elden Ring. Same fight. Pretty much exactly the same. So, I didn't have too much trouble with it. Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. A tier. Gwyn was a lot of fun. Very, very fast. And a lot of high hit combo attacks. So yeah, dodging those quick sword attacks was pretty rough. Unfortunately, I don't have the video where I killed Gwyn was lost. So the first time I beat him, I don't have that on video. I don't have that uploaded. So I had to play through the entire game again just so I could get to Gwyn and do the DLC and get videos of that. So if you're watching my playthrough and you're looking for the video where I kill Gwyn, unfortunately, the video that you're seeing is the second time that I went through. I don't have a video of my first time through, which is a shame because that was a lot more interesting. The video that's up there is of my second time I beat him, and I beat him on my first try there. But when I fought him the first time, it took many, many tries and learning his moveset, and he's pretty tough. A lot of fun, though. And cool aesthetic. He gets an A. Nito. The Gravelord Nito, I think that is. Alright, Nito is pretty neat. Aesthetically, he's just kind of a blob. He's a blob. It's hard to gauge what he's doing. Hard to predict his attacks because he's just kind of a dark mass. I do like the fact that his AoE attacks can damage his minions, which makes the fight easier. You can kind of exploit that to make it easier, which is what I did. So that's kind of cool. But I think I'm going to go C tier. He's just, apart from that, he's really not that interesting. And yeah, keeping in mind that all of these bosses, this is sort of within Dark Souls, so D doesn't mean like they're terrible, although some of these are terrible. But it just means, you know, comparatively speaking, they are not that great. The Iron Golem, you're C tier. I can't put you in D tier because there's nothing really wrong with you. It's just you're not that interesting. You look kind of cool, I suppose, and you stomp and you throw your axe, and that's neat. You're going in C tier. Artorias The Abysswalker. This one I wasn't too impressed with at first time I went through, but later on I've kind of grown to appreciate him more. I'm gonna go A tier. Yeah, I didn't notice at first, but when I was watching my playthrough, my recording of my fight with him, I noticed he was only using the one arm. I didn't notice it while I was fighting him. I was just too busy trying to take him down, but he was only using the one arm, and we'll later learn a bit about him. He had I guess he had tried to destroy the abyss or something. I'm kind of misremembering. I think, yeah, I'm not too familiar with Dark Souls lore. I didn't look up any lore or anything. All I know is what I was told in game, and some of that's kind of hard to piece together. But he had fought Manus, Father of the Abyss, I guess, with his wolf Sif, and he lost that fight, and that's why he's in a weakened state. So when I first fought him, I think I beat him on my first try as well, and my first thought was, that's it? I mean, the DLC is named after this guy, and he wasn't that difficult, but it makes sense because he's in a weakened state. He doesn't have his wolf. His arm is just broken, I guess. He's not using it at all. It's just kind of flailing about while he's swinging his sword at me. So all of that makes sense. It's great. It's great lore-wise that he, or it makes sense lore-wise that he's not too difficult. So I'm putting him A tier. I guess the only reason I'm not putting him S tier is because I found him to be not particularly difficult, which makes sense lore-wise, but yeah, it's tough. I'll keep him as A tier. Moonlight Butterfly. Nah, you're going D tier. There's nothing about you that stands out. That's a ranged battle. I don't like ranged battles. You're a butterfly. You're not that interesting, sorry. Manus, Father of the Abyss. This was a cool boss. I think we're going A tier. He took a few tries as well. He was quite difficult. But I got him eventually. There's plenty of room in the arena where you fight him. Learning his moveset is key. And eventually I was able to do it with enough perseverance. I like his aesthetic. He was a lot of fun. Ornstein and Smough. That's either going to be an S tier or A tier. This was a lot of fun as well. Oh, I gotta go S tier. Yeah, this was, along with Black Dragon Kalameet, this was the boss that I felt hopeless against. Like, there's nothing I can do. He's just too difficult. I got frustrated at this boss probably more than any other boss. I don't like fighting... I don't like bosses where you fight two bosses at the same time, generally, which is kind of ironic because I have the Bell Gargoyles in A tier and this guy, or these guys, in S tier. But this was done really well because they behave very differently. And basically, in order to take him out, just completely forget about one of these guys, the big guy, forget about the big guy. Focus on the small guy. Try to get them away from each other. That's hard to do, but patience pays off, and I was able to do it that way. I was able to lure out the small guy, take him out first, then take care of the big guy. And they have really varied movesets as well. Interesting movesets. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. A lot of fun, a lot of frustration. Pinwheel. There's not much to say about Pinwheel. I mean, he's barely a boss. I guess he looks cool, but I don't know. He's just kind of there, and then you swing your sword, and he's dead. I gotta go D tier. Stray Demon. Okay. Which one's the Stray Demon? I'm getting the Asylum Demon and the Stray Demon mixed up. I think, is the Stray Demon the one that's underground? The one that the floor crumbles and you fall down and that's a Stray Demon? Or is that the Asylum Demon? I think that's the Stray Demon. But I like him. I'll put him up to B tier. He's cool. He has a few more moves than the Asylum Demon. He's pretty much the same as the Demon Firesage, but I actually think the Stray Demon looks cooler. So, without all the fire and flame. So I'm going to put him up to B tier along with the Asylum Demon. Here, you can go next to each other. Sanctuary Guardian looks cool. Not that... Actually, this boss, more than any other boss, I don't remember much about him. I don't remember his moveset. I think he took a few tries for me to kill him, but if I don't remember him, he wasn't that interesting. D tier. Seath The Scaleless, you're going in D tier. Yeah, this guy is not that interesting. I just beat him by basically button mashing. And on top of that, he's very ugly. I don't like his aesthetic. The scaleless dragon is weird looking. I know he's supposed to be, but that doesn't change. That doesn't change anything. He's just ugly to look at. Not fun to fight. He's going in D tier. Taurus Demon. Again, barely a boss. Sort of like Capra Demon. Barely a boss. You fight him again later on as sort of a normal mob. Several of them. So in that way, very much like Capra Demon. But I think this is the first sort of quote-unquote boss fight or big dude that you fight in the game, if I remember. Oh, that's besides the Asylum Demon. But I like these guys' aesthetic. They look cool. I'm going C tier. Yeah, so that's about it. So let me know what you think about this tier list. Do you agree with it or not agree with it? I know there's probably a lot of contention about, you know, which bosses are the best or the worst. I'm very curious what people think of, particularly the Bed of Chaos, which was one of the worst, and the Centipede Demon. The Centipede Demon is one of those where it's just a mass of, you know, something that's just flopping around at you, and you gotta just press buttons and hope for the best. These two were the only terrible boss fights. Bed of Chaos and Centipede Demon. The other ones are just kind of meh, you know? But these two were just awful. But yeah, what do you think? And if you want to see some Dark Souls 2, that will be coming tomorrow. Alright, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.